Hop on with us as we dive into the latest topics, share some laughs, and bring you insightful conversations in and around the realm of ag. From down-home wisdom to cutting-edge tech, we've got what you need to fuel your curiosity. So tune in, relax, and let's kick back. On the Tailgate, presented by Wade Incorporated.
All right, welcome back. Another episode on the Tailgate. I'm your host, Cade Moody. Got co-host Gaston Line, producer Riggs Ware, and some reoccurring guests, Director of IntelliFarm, Johnny Marshall, and our Western Region Manager, Matt Smith. And today, the conversation is See and Spray technology.
Discussion. Roundtable.
Just a big old round-robin conversation. What is it? What can it do? What's it going to do years from now? Where did it come from? And all that kind of stuff.
Amazing technology.
Amazing technology. Revolutionary.
First, we got some Fun Fact Friday.
Oh, geez.
Fun Facts Friday.
Is that what we're starting now?
Yeah, we're going to start off.
I know we were
with this.
starting with this. I thought we were going to close with this.
Oh, I thought we were. I came right in.
Go
there
ahead.
with
We're
it.
ready.
We're ready.
We're ready.
There are more microorganisms in a handful of soil than people on Earth. Okay. That didn't take.
Oh,
Corn is grown on every continent except Antarctica.
I thought it was going to be like a question.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you asked.
Well, it's supposed to spark conversation. That's what it does. And then the last is, and I'm sure a lot of people know this, our chicken farmers around the area. Are there any in our area?
Yes.
Get to delete
Okay.
that.
Yeah, we maybe can. Chickens outnumber humans nearly 3-1 globally, with over 33 billion chickens worldwide.
We're done with farm facts. This is farm chaos instead of farm facts.
Are there any chickens in Antarctica? Should we talk about See and Spray?
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about See and Spray. So,
Just trying to break the ice.
yeah, it's broken.
You fell through.
It's broken. It is busted, melted, gone.
Threw that
evaporated.
together in about 10 seconds.
A little help from AI.
Yeah.
Sometimes AI will get you in trouble.
But with AI, that's the future of farming.
And AI is what drives the See and Spray sprayer.
Here we
Exactly.
go.
So great segue. But it really is. It's revolutionary technology because for years, I mean, anybody that's seen a sprayer operate, you know, it's broadcasting an herbicide that's designed to make contact with a weed and kill that weed. It's putting it everywhere, bare dirt, the crop, wherever. So the See and Spray technology, and so I'm gonna back up and just give for the listeners out there who might not be familiar, give a See and Spray 101, like 5th grade level. So the See and Spray sprayer comes in various forms, but we'll talk about that later. But it is a technology where there are cameras mounted on a spray boom. As the machine rides through the field, the cameras are looking forward, and it is detecting weed or it's detecting green, and then deciding, is this a weed or is this the crop of the field that I'm spraying in? If it is a weed, it is then deciding to turn the nozzles on, and spray that weed. So it's a crazy technology. Like, it seems like something out of a futuristic ad, but in reality, we've had them in production here for 2 years. This will be year 3, I guess, of them in the field.
2023 is when they became officially, we started retailing this sprayers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to ask that. So in production, you're meaning in our fields here.
Right, correct. Yeah, not a prototype. Like, it was a production model sprayer that was running in the field.
Do y'all know what year the first one went to the field in the United States?
Well, production models was that year. As far as we had a couple of test models before then, Johnny.
We've been running
some
some limited builds late, I'm going to say 2020 and 19, and so somewhere in that range. So,
Working the kinks out.
Yes, working the kinks out. Don't know when you want to get into. Of course, Blue River Technologies is who developed the technology. John Deere has since bought Blue River. When we first started going to look at them, they were, Cade mentioned they were a prototype, just a small one with a 3D printer. But the ones we started first going looking at were like on a 20-foot 3-point hitch rig with a massive covered camera, and it was direct injection, just directing, seeing the weed and spraying the weed. But you look at the technology when they first looked at it, it's too expensive to ever produce something like that. 'Cause what was under there was just like I said, just too much technology. The first ones that I actually went and saw, we went over to Arkansas and saw some. It was a little track machine with I'm going to say a lawnmower engine on it, running with a 15-foot boom, and it was running. And, of course, they had a theory we could put 10 or 20 of these little robots out in the field instead of a big sprayer.
Take the bumblebee approach.
The bumblebee approach. And then we finally, when John Deere acquired them, they redirected them and started putting it on sprayers.
Gotcha.
And so that's the journey we've been on. But we've been fortunate enough to be involved with that journey, giving them feedback of what we would need in our territory to be able to be able to utilize it.
So some of the first ones released came in our area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Riggs brought it up on another episode.
Yeah.
In year one, so in year 20, I guess that was 23, we had 10% of the Ultimate machines, which I'll get into the differentiation of that later, but 10% of them that were sold in the country were in Wade Incorporated customers' hands.
Wow.
Impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty good stuff.
I had a little bit of in play with Blue River when I was on the parts counter about 5 or 6 years ago. They couldn't tell me exactly what they were working on, but he would bring me a product and we would kind of help figure out how to make something work, and they'd go test it and then come back, and it was pretty cool. Now that I can go out there now and look at that original prototype that was on the front of a loader of a tractor is where I saw it.
So are you trying to did you invent See and Spray? Is that where you're?
Were you part of it?
No, I did get a package when See and Spray was released from Blue River Technology with a bunch of See and Spray hats and memorabilia and all that, though.
Blue River's had a lot of interns working here over the last 10 years, walking through the fields with backpacks and cameras, collecting images of our weeds and all that kind of stuff in our area, just to be able to get all the images that the cameras would see and get it inputted into the technology so it'd be able to identify it. So, like I said, if you ever saw somebody walking through with a backpack and look like an alien, that's what it was. Somebody gathering information for Blue River to be able to put on the See and Spray.
Man, the hottest days of the year,
Yes.
too. I'd drive down Highway 61 or something and see one of these kids out in the field with that backpack, and I'm like, buddy, I do not want to be you right now. But that's what they got to do. That's what the system has. Millions and probably billions of images loaded into it that allows that AI
To learn.
to decide soybean or morning glory or corn or pigweed or whatever it may be. And so right now, if I'm not mistaken, at least the information that's been released to us, the technology is identifying the crop and then spraying everything that is not the crop. So, and there's two types of kind of scenarios that you would run See and Spray. One of them is in crop, and one of them is in fallow application. So where there is no crop in the field. So think fall burn down or spring burn down, whatever, before plant, or after harvest. So different technologies at play there. You got green on green technology when it's in crop, and that's where there's more than one. There's friendlies out there in the field, and so the technology is having to discern a green target versus a green non-target. So that would be identifying a cotton plant, not spraying a cotton plant, seeing the weed right next to it, and spraying the weed. Then you've got green on brown technology, and this is there's a lot of I'm not going to say a lot. There's competition in the green on brown market. It's a little bit easier to master, but green on brown is just, if it's green, spray it. You run through that fallow field, anything green, it's going to light it up. If you do have corn coming up or something that sees it, it's going to spray it. So that's the different kind of big breakdowns. And then Deere has 3 sub breakdowns that utilize those different technologies that we'll discuss here shortly. And Matt, you may be able to speak to this, but you talk about the day and age. You got the environmental movement. You've got the sustainability, the big S word. The sustainable factor. This is probably driving a lot of this, as well as reducing inputs from a cost perspective for the customer.
I would speak to one of our key customers. When I think of that customer, I think of a partnership. It's not a transactional relationship. And what he said last summer, how much chemical has he been spraying for all of the years that he's been wasting, not because he wanted to. It was because the customer can only use the technology that is provided to him at the time. So he has said he instantly became a believer in the See and Spray. Now, granted, it was also an ultimate sprayer that you'll talk about in a minute. Just you're putting the active ingredient exactly, precisely where you need it to be, and you're not wasting anything. And so that, to me, coming from the ag retail side, coming from the ag supplier side, over here seeing the technology, I see how anyone can be nervous of AI when we're trying to farm as efficiently as we can and as precise. I mean, this technology is it.
It's being used the right way with this.
Correct.
Yeah. But you talk about the overusage of chemicals, and I think for years everybody in our industry would agree that overusage, takes away from, or it builds up resistance, on these active ingredients that we use. So I think this goes hand in hand with that, and that's why I think that a lot of companies on the ag retail, ag supplier side are open to this because it allows their product to work longer and better, do what it was made to do.
Yep.
But we've built up resistance in a lot of different weeds because of overusage over the years, and so this is going to be a huge help, I believe.
I think from a sustainability standpoint, from the environmental, those who are really worried about that, I come from the standpoint that I believe that all customers of ours, all growers, no one has wanted to be, not sensitive to that.
Right.
You want to live in a you want to leave the whatever ground you're farming to whoever's coming behind you. You want to leave it, as good, if not better, than when it was provided to you, from a sustainability standpoint. You think about what you said, Gaston, about the resistance management. You're putting more of the active on the weed, the pest that needs it. You're going to get a better kill. When you get a better kill, less opportunity for resistance down the road. So a lot of this technology, I think that we've heard through the podcast from the Purdue, the doctor from Purdue University,
the weed scientist and the farmer from up there.
Scientist,
Yep.
how it has changed over 2 years. How he initially thought he would use it on his farm, to how he's actually using it today. So I think we're going to see, as more of this technology gets out there, you're going to figure out better ways of using it. And I can think of a lot of things, from the resistance standpoint, from some herbicides, specifically herbicides today. I know we can talk about plant health in a minute, but the herbicides that may have been more cost prohibitive on certain farms, now, because of the way that you're saving per acre, I don't believe this technology is going to save you into prosperity. It's going to allow you to have more tools in your toolbox.
Shift your focus.
Exactly. Shift your focus to better spend that dollar per acre on different types of herbicides that are much
The definition of precision ag. It's not about taking, like if I'm going to do variable rate fertilizer, it's not about me reducing the amount of fertilizer in that field. It's about me putting that fertilizer where I need to.
Exactly where you need to. Yep.
So that's exactly what this See and Spray machine does. And like you said, maybe you're putting out a single mode of action, but now that you're only going to spray 50% of the field, maybe you throw that secondary in there and hammer those weeds. But yeah, so I want to back up and talk about the types of See and Sprays that John Deere offers. So we do have 3 technologies, I guess, that I'll discuss, and the different applications of each of those. But you've got 3 kind of overarching styles, and it's the Select, See and Spray Select, the See and Spray Premium, and the See and Spray Ultimate. So the Select machine is strictly green on brown technology, so it cannot do any kind of plant identification, none of that. Okay, the Premium machine is a single tank, single boom, potentially a precision upgrade kit, depending on your model of your sprayer, so it can be retrofitted onto the existing sprayer. But it does have green on green technology, as well as the capability to spray in fallow applications. The Ultimate machine is the spaceship. It's the Taj Mahal of these sprayers, and that is, it has one tank on it that is split in two plumbing hoses all the way to the back, and one nozzle body that sprays two independent chemicals back there. So what you have is the ability to put out some sort of broadcast out of tank 2 while you are see and spraying out of tank 1. So, and we can talk about the layout of that on a different episode, but that's kind of, now, one, there's a learning curve with that machine. You got to learn how to do mix 2 hot mixes. You're going to have one tank that runs out at a different time than the other one, so there's a little bit of confusion there, but at the end of the day, that is the most efficient machine, and it has the most tech on it. It can go faster, cover more ground, but it's that's kind of where the magic is with See and Spray, is on that Ultimate machine.
What I would add on the Ultimate, which is amazing of itself, to your point, you've basically got 2 full sprayers that are plumbed separately, but we're listening. Our audience knows our customers, the actives that are antagonistic to one another. I mean, you're thinking initially, okay, let's just put the residual in one sprayer and then the contact in the other boom. You're going to now make a clethodim and a fomesafen that does not necessarily mix well with other actives. Separate them. You separate them. You have none of that issue. You don't have to stop and clean out the tips and the filters. That right there in and of itself may be a small added benefit that you didn't even think about. So, a lot of neat opportunities that come from this technology.
Yeah, we've actually had one customer come to us when we first started pushing the Ultimate and saw the machine and saw, it's got this big carbon fiber truss style boom on it. It's a good looking machine, but he's like, man, y'all can keep the cameras and all that. He said, I just want a sprayer with 2 tanks on it, so he can keep that minimize some of that antagonism. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so we do have, so the most common sprayer we're going to have out there this year, of course, is going to be the premium. So that is the middle of the road machine, and that's wherever that machine goes, especially with the weed pressure we have around here, more than likely you're looking at a second trip to put out any kind of a residual or broadcast, whatever you may need to, but the savings are still there, and you can still run the numbers and see how this machine can benefit you. And then, like we've been talking about, it's not a savings competition between See and Spray users. I've got customers saving 90% on some passes. I got customers saving 30% on some passes. That's not the big deal. The big deal is to take that money and then do what you need to do with it in that acre, and that's kind of where the magic is with the See and Spray technology, as is all precision ag solutions. So it's but it's neat.
Let me ask this question from a customer testimonial standpoint, from the few that I've talked to. When I first heard about the technology, I was thinking, okay, a pigweed that's just coming out of the ground, it's going to have to miss some weeds. I've not heard that at all. So I know that you all are seeing it more broadly.
Your pinky nail.
No,
right?
You have a big pinky. You have a big pinky. It's like my pinky.
Use
nail.
my pinky nail.
Yeah.
Anybody's pinky nail.
Quarter inch, okay?
Yeah, quarter inch.
That's the guideline, and we've seen
Quarter
them
by quarter.
We've hit them. We've seen them hit smaller than that.
You can use Lewis lines, pinky.
I think that's where it blows people's minds. That's where it's been hard for me to understand that.
That is
It's
not
crazy.
missing anything.
It's not the human eye, though. That's what I have to. That's because anytime I see technology work, I immediately associate it to what can a person do. And I imagine every one of those cameras being a person. Well, this See and Spray Ultimate can go through the field at 15 miles an hour. And as long as that boom's staying where it is, which our Boom Track Pro is keeping it level, I'm trying to imagine myself riding on that boom at 15 miles an hour. And I'm like, man, there's no way.
Yeah.
But it's not us. It's better.
Right.
And that's, kind of scary to think about. But at the same time, I mean, it works. I've supported these sprayers for 3 years, and missing weeds is not a call that I get. Mm-hmm. And that's saying something, because I'm taking a lot of calls.
Some of these weeds with the seed bank, that if you do miss it, you would see it immediately. And to know that now you're saying 2 years 2 to 3 years being commercial, that's not come up.
That's not the case.
It
Yeah.
would have. It would have already.
Absolutely,
happened
it
by
would have.
In 2020, we had some lead events with some of John Deere's technology where they bring it together and actually showcase it to customers. And this was, like I said, a limited build, so it was pre-production. And we brought customers down and got out in the field and actually put blue dye in it. And as we're running through the field at that 15 miles an hour, that's what they were really amazed by. Just like Riggs was saying, that small weed, they were looking at it and say, hey, it's going to miss this one. Then they'd walk up, it's got blue dye on it.
And not just that exact same demo that you're talking about. I know a customer that came up and he said he saw it spray but couldn't see the weed. And he was like, why did it spray? And he walked over there and just the corner of a leaf was starting to, under a old stem or what, and was starting to pop up, and that's what it was spraying.
Yeah, because the way the technology works, you've got 36 cameras across this 120-foot boom, but any camera, like it's not, well, this camera controls these nozzles. That's not how it works. Any camera can control any nozzle that's in its vicinity. So if this camera over here looks way off to the right and is able to look under this old husk or something and sees a weed, but the camera right above it can't see it, it's still going to activate that tip over there. I mean, it's unbelievable. Really.
And what's really crazy is this is just the beginning of it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at the advancements we've already had in speed. Initially, when the Ultimate came out, it was a 12-mile-an-hour max. Currently, our premium machines are 12-mile-an-hour max. The Ultimate is now gone to 15 miles an hour. And then we expect more speed advancements, as well as smaller spray sections. And that's where, we got our average in-crop savings across corn, cotton, and soybeans, which is all it's approved in. It's approved in corn, cotton, and soybeans right now. Our average savings last year was about 60%. And you think about that's 60%, and every time that thing is activated, on average, it's going to spray a 4x8 sheet of plywood. So think about a 4x8 area when those nozzles engage. Psh, you got that. That weed may have been that big around, but yet it sprayed that size. If we can figure that out, you're talking 90% savings.
Oh, and I believe
even in a weedy field.
I believe it would be here the next 5 years.
I would say right now you can guarantee they're being cautionary. They want to make sure they're getting that weed, so they're giving us a little bit overkill. But as time grows and more confidence is built in the AI, they're going to wind that down.
Yeah, I mean, it's just processing speed, and this stuff is. I mean, look at your phone. Look what it's done in 5 years, and it's crazy.
Well, and so far, you're looking at herbicides. Imagine plant health. Imagine PGRs.
Yeah,
I mean, even your best agronomist or sales rep who will go and make up these different PGR recs for cotton. At the end of the day, they're doing, although it's not the whole field, it is still larger acres, larger swaths through the field. You're now going to have it, the AI that's doing that. That to me is amazing.
This we can segue in because of what's been talked about here to the limitations. So it's I think of the dust as sometimes an issue, but what things are John Deere working on? We just talked about the narrowing your spray width. What's some other things that y'all anticipate that John Deere is going to be implementing down the road?
So yeah, speed for sure. So the dust issue Gas is referring to is obviously these cameras have to see the ground to be able to do what they need to do. In some of our areas, it's pretty dusty behind the axles. So that center section of the boom sometimes does go into what we call fallback mode, which is where it sprays consistently because the cameras realize, hey, I can't do my job. We need to make sure we kill everything that's back there, and so they just go into broadcast mode. We've already seen row spacing get smaller. Initially, it was 15 inches and greater, and I believe they've gone down to maybe a little bit smaller than that in certain crops. So we've seen that get better. Cross row, so not running with the row, running across the row used to not be supported at all. That is now supported with certain tips and certain crop heights.
Day and night?
No lights on it yet. That's a big one. I mean, y'all look at what Gaston, from the application world, look how windy it's been, especially during daylight hours.
Yep.
Maximizing the spray window.
Yeah, that's something that we have asked questions about from the very beginning, and it's apparently a little bigger deal to put lights on that thing from an amperage issue than it seems.
You do see on sometimes scrolling through Facebook or whatever those ones at night with big laser beams that are. I wonder if any of that will ever come into play or.
Yeah, and there's some on the market. I'm not going to say their production because I don't know, but they market themselves like they have a million machines in the field. Some competition out there as far as spot spraying goes, and they do have lights. But like I said, I can't speak to anything. I've never seen one. I've heard of one in the area, but I don't think it was true. It's just.
John Deere's always trying to do something new. So, like I said, I know at some point running at night is going to be available. They're calling us all the time. As customers see these, they're coming up with more ideas of how they can use them. So, Blue River, John Deere, they're contacting us and say, okay, you've got this now. What do you need next? So, we're helping them along that process and giving them ideas. And some of the ideas they're working on, we're starting to see that they're getting ready to come to market with that. But like I said, in some ideas, there's not enough interest in that to pursue it. But as the interest level, and spraying at night is a big one. So I actually expect to see that coming soon. And it might be a different camera that can see at night where you don't have to have lights. So who knows what that's going to look like, but what we have today definitely won't be what we have tomorrow.
Yeah, and some other things. So outside of just the actual machine's performance, some of the insights that it can give you. So currently, it will give you of course, an as-applied map that shows you how much you saved, and it'll even give you a weed pressure map. So to tell you where were your weedy portions, which should be a direct correlation to your as-applied map, assuming you didn't have anything else going on in the machine, fallback reasons, anything like that. But I expect some sort of weed identification. You got to think that. You got vision out there. You got cameras over all this, cameras that can detect Riggs's giant pinky finger.
You can take a picture of a weed with your phone
That's right.
and go and find out what it is. Yeah.
So I got to think that that's coming.
To your point about being able to see that on just your phone, think about if you start going just from a standpoint of how the customer's looking at it, record keeping is made that much more precise so that when they're having to validate that if a complaint comes across. I mean, there's just so many side benefits that come with this.
And so many what ifs.
You mentioned it, Kate. The camera's picking up the weed right now. They're seeing the cotton plant and anything else is just a weed. The guys with the backpacks walking through the fields collecting all that data, they have that bank where the eyes learn what the individual weed is looking for. So in the future, like I said, it's going to be someday that we go out there, well, this weed is not as detrimental as that other, so they target certain weeds and start spraying.
Right, yeah. You put that $30 an acre mix in there going after your pigweed. You want to kill every pigweed out there. But I don't necessarily want to go spray this easy to kill weed.
Right.
Maybe I say I want to go kill pigweeds and I go light it up. Resistant ryegrass, that kind of stuff.
Stuff like that is where I see further advancements.
Yeah,
we're not there yet, but I guarantee it's coming.
Absolutely.
What if we train the See and Spray sprayer to have infrared on it and it identifies the interplant seed and sprays everything else?
You mean infragreen?
No, interplant.
Infragreen.
Okay.
Rick, since you're cutting it out, they're looking at it so where it will spray just the plant or just the ground. So, like I said, this is all future stuff. So that's not out there.
We can leave this in there because I'll tell you, John Deere sees something in interplant.
I know.
And interplant, for those of y'all who aren't familiar, their company is working with seed genetics to allow the plant to express its feelings, basically, through infrared. And so you will be able to fly a drone, a satellite, or maybe one day a See and Spray, and the plant will tell that camera by whatever signal it is conveying, hey, I got a fungus issue, or hey, I'm getting eaten alive by insects, or hey, I'm
the plant
drought.
health piece. I'm telling you, that's going to be the next big wave.
We're getting interplant on here.
interplant's coming on to this podcast, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and their stuff is crazy. Because you talk about literally a satellite going 17,000 miles an hour, flying over a field, and then you get an image to your phone that says, you got a fungus issue up here. That's crazy to me. And
you can catch it at a corner of your property before it spreads to the whole field with somebody coming to check it.
There's no doubt in my mind that's in the back of somebody's mind that gets paid a lot more than we do in the See and Spray world. They're working on it for sure.
You talk about all these cameras on our See and Spray, but then it's on our combines, and then autonomy coming to our tractors and all our equipment, but it's all the cameras all over it. Do you think that that's all going to be tied in together at some point? And, it's this interplant, but just so now every pass you're making across the field, you're recording
Data.
Yeah, data. Yeah. And we're using that for down the road or instant, like plant health. But you got to think that we're going to be building this bank.
You're building your data set in that data bank, however how you want to say it. Instead of being afraid of that, okay, Big Brother's getting all this information. Well, we're having to feed how many people throughout the world today?
We've got to get better at it.
Them well, you're going to be more efficient.
Yep.
And that's the thing is AI can be used in a negative way, maybe. In a farm practice, I think we're just barely opening the...
Buddy, we got a long way to go with it. I'm not going to say we're behind, but I do think that there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of data out there that is being underutilized, whether it be from this sprayer or from any of these other cameras or from Op Center in general. There's enormous amounts of data that can be... Some magic can happen using it if we find out how to harness it.
Operations Center, I know you guys may have already done a few podcasts on that. No one fully understands the use of Operations Center, I think, from A to Z. And I think as our customer base fully understands that, efficiency, we're not even there yet. We're not there.
Having a customer look at the See and Spray as it goes over the field, seeing the weed pressure maps, and then seeing where the sprayer actually sprayed and being able to identify that. And, of course, that's going to show your utilization report to the customer and show exactly what he did spray or what he didn't spray. So
they could draw some other conclusions from it, too. Why was my weed pressure high right here? Did I run one tillage practice in this field and a different tillage practice on this half or in this field? There's a lot of other stuff that can come from it.
Well, for years, I would say our customers, ag retail, ag suppliers, the focus has been on the planting and the harvest. The tillage. I mean, there's so many neat technologies that are out there with all of the Deere equipment that we're not even tapped. I would say you're less than 5% tapped in. It is definitely a lot of green grass in front of us.
Matt, that's one thing I was thinking. As you were talking about that, the more information that you can record and be able to make decisions based on, you need to know every tillage pass, all your sprayer passes, in order to make that decision. What made my weed pressure there? Was it a bad tillage pass? Was it can I look back at my sprayer? Did I not put out the right rates of what I thought I was putting out on my burn down? So. Just being able to look at the information. If you don't have that information there, you can't make the decisions.
Yeah. Even something as simple and as instant as a residual trial.
Mm-hmm.
Just you're testing two residuals. You run one on this half and one on the other half. Well, then you can go out there and look at it right now with the human eye and see. Be like, yeah, I think that one worked a little better than this one. But really, the telltale is you put that See and Spray back in that field, it's going to tell you to the decimal point how much better this one was than that other one.
That's correct.
I would like to circle back to what Gaston, what you mentioned earlier about the retailers and suppliers. Yes, everyone wants to put the right product in the right place at the right time. But you think about from the ag retailers and suppliers that we've heard, and we've had 4 ag retailers in and 4 or 5 ag suppliers in. Their excitement is that it's their product that's being used, and you want to maximize the benefit of that. You want it to show out. Well, the technology in the past has limited that. So now you've got that opportunity for a product that may have been around 5 or 10 years. It can actually still perform better. It was just 5 or 10 years ago, you were limited to the technology. Secondary, from a manufacturing standpoint, See and Spray technology is obviously not wall to wall today. But once it gets there, they're going to be able to look at, let's say that they're producing 500,000 gallons of a certain product today. If on average you're cutting the usage of it 30, 40%, every gallon that they make that's not being used, it's affecting their working capital. And so they're looking at it from a different vantage point than our customer or even we're looking at it. And it's going to be that important for all of the different ag sectors is my belief anyway.
Yeah. And I want to address, I know there's an elephant in the room when we talk See and Spray that customers that are familiar with it will know about. You see it back there, Matt? But it is the license units. So See and Spray does, it is a license unit product or service, I guess, so that as you use the technology, you are billed for that use. Now, it sounds bad up front, but if you let me get in the weeds, it's not as bad as it seems, I promise. So in crop, it's $5 an acre where the machine does not spray. So where the technology is saving you money, you are billed for that acre or sub-acre. All right. In fallow ground, it is $1 an acre. So in no crop situations, it's $1 an acre. Same thing, where the machine saves you money. So basically what I think of it is you're either paying for the technology or you are paying for chemical. In no situation would you pay for both. All right. In that situation Gaston mentioned earlier, when dust kicks up behind the wheels, you are not billed for the area that is in fallback, just like you are not billed for the area where there are substantial amounts of weeds. Okay, so let's just use a 100-acre field for an example, 100-acre soybean field. I've got a $10 tank mix. It costs me $5 per acre to run See and Spray. And I've got 50% weed pressure. So that means my machine sprays, of that one, I cover all 100 acres, my machine sprays 50 of those acres due to weed pressure. Okay, I pay $5 an acre for where it did not spray, so I'm going to pay $250. Is that right? Am I doing my math right?
I don't know. This is too much math.
Yeah, 50 acres were sprayed, so I'm paying 50 times 10 in chemical, so $500 in chemical, and I'm paying 50 times 5 in license units, so $250 in license units. So I am total, all in that field, I'm $500 in chemical, $250 in license units, I'm $750 in on that field. If I was to go out there with a broadcast machine over that same 100 acres, I'm 100 acres sprayed at $10, I'm $1,000 in that field. Okay, so I'm in this one example, I'm putting $250 back in my pocket, and that's below the average savings that we've seen.
So let me ask this question. We have enough customers that have been using See and Spray. I believe that when the IntelliFarm rep or the Wade rep is speaking with our customer, there is a calculator.
Absolutely.
Is it not? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. We'll sit down. So if somebody's interested in See and Spray, like I said, and I'll need to talk about this right after this, the upgrades versus the factory built. But if somebody's interested in See and Spray, the first thing we do is sit down with that customer, potentially their agronomist, and we go over, all right, what does your tank mix look like, your typical tank mix, and let's run some scenarios. Let's say you're making 2 trips through the field, 2 passes through the soybean field, putting out a post emerge. And let's run a scenario at 40% savings. Let's run a scenario at 60% savings. If you think you got a fantastic weed management, let's run a scenario at 75% just to see. And let's see where the payback is.
So for those customers who have done that, for those that have been using the See and Spray equipment, they're loving it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good feedback from the customers that we've had in the field with See and Spray. Yep. And like I said earlier, it's a crazy thing because the first thing you think when we went to that lead event, Johnny, the first thing you think when you see this machine go through the field is that there's no way. There's no way. But that is the last of the calls that I've gotten on See and Spray. That is the one that I have yet to have is it's missing weeds. I have escapes. Now, early on with the technology, there was one weed that it struggled to identify in a soybean field, and that was in 2023. It could not pick out, or it struggled to pick out velvet leaf, and that was a software fix that resolved that. So, yeah, of the 3 years that we've had these things running at the thousands of acres these machines have been over, that's not the phone call that we get. So, but yeah, so back to the precision performance upgrade kit. Sorry, I don't want to get Deere's going to blackball us with I call it precision upgrade kit. Performance upgrade kits. You can put See and Spray on an existing R series sprayer that meets certain criteria. Model year 18 or newer.
120.
90, 100, 120
yeah,
foot boom. Exact apply. Yeah, we can put See and Spray on that machine for probably a whole lot less than one would think. And then you have a premium machine. Then you're ready to roll. Now, the ultimate machine, you want that, we're going to have to order it because there's a little more to it than just slapping some cameras on the boom.
Having a split tank would be a little bit more expensive than you'd want to spend on an older sprayer.
Yeah, a little bit more than that. But they're extremely impressive. We got a lot of them out there this year. Of course, our team's going to be leading the charge there to support those machines and make sure those customers are getting the most out of that technology. And then just like AI in any other realm, the more it works, the more it learns, the better it gets, and then the possibilities are endless. All the way to Riggs's interplant theory.
Dude, we're marking this down.
We got it on record now.
I know.
So when it happens,
Back a long time ago. No,
remind me when we have the interplant folks on here. We need to press them.
Quiz
too.
them, yeah.
Send them this episode.
they might not can say much, but we're gonna do our best to.
That's right.
Wiggle out the weeds in them.
If we get them to lock up, then we know we got them. So.
I don't know, in previous episodes, have you guys talked about precision upgrade kits, just in general?
We have not. We are going to probably dedicate an entire episode to all things pucks here in the very near future.
Combines, planters, sprayers, tractors,
autonomy pucks,
everything.
Well, little shout out to our Sumner location. They're doing an excellent job putting those in.
Oh yeah,
And,
did almost all of our See and Spray of the Johnny. What was it? Number 21?
21.
21 this year. Sumner did at least 18 or 19 of them. So pretty good job up there that they're doing. There's one guy, I'm pretty sure he can do them blindfolded by this point. Just knocking it out.
I hope so.
Just knocking it out. Well, look, Gaston, do you have any more fun facts for us?
No, we need to address the other elephant in the room. Our drones do not have See and Spray yet. I've been asked that multiple times now.
You go out there,
But it's coming.
You
it's
look
coming.
at your camera, you see a weed, and you spray it.
Yeah, you can't.
No, you can do that.
You can do that,
you
but
do
you
some
have to
spot
go real
spraying with it.
slow.
Put the aim that camera straight
But
down.
we just had to address that.
Ask how many farmers go out there and spot spray.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of videos from him this year. Like, on my See and Spray, and he's out there with the old open cab, and he's got the wand. He drives to it.
Well, I'm just talking. There's a customer. I'm hoping to get video of it soon. They have corn that's knee high, and he's just got a pup upgrade. And he said normally we'd go out there, and every Johnson grass you see, we'd have to go out there and spot spray it with the big 120-foot boom sprayer, and you don't get them all. Well, now he's got See and Spray, and he's got this whole field he's dedicated to tests. He's got a brand new high-speed planter compared to twin row versus single. He's now got a sprayer without See and Spray. He also has a sprayer with See and Spray. He's doing all these tests, so it's going to be good to see what happens with all that.
Yeah.
I wanted to. There was one thing I don't know that we mentioned, but from a customer who does most of their driving on applications, planning, whatnot, they may have, in the past they've used a technology that was allowed to them. Well, I don't know that we're talking enough about the ease of use of this technology that allows the customer who's in his or her sprayer, or if they're planning or not, no longer are you having to look back, look forward, turn different things on and off. That we skim right past that. It's ease of use and ease of mind.
It's automated.
Yeah. And that's amazing in and of itself. It is not wearing the applicator out nearly like it would be in the past.
No,
And if there's a learning curve, Wade Incorporated is invested in the support needed.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Whether
Yeah.
it's your training our sales guys or IntelliFarm, there are people here to help.
Yeah.
We want to see you thrive out in the field.
Yeah,
and-
you
and
have
maximize.
invested in this piece of equipment.
Right.
And this goes for everything we sell. You have invested in this piece of equipment. We want to do everything possible to make sure it is not only just successful, but also optimized so that you get maximum return out of that green paint, that Wade sticker that's on the side of it.
We have heard many customers who are a true partnership with Wade and or Deere. Those men and women that are those partners, they're no longer just buying that piece of equipment. They're maximizing the aftermarket, the service, and the parts. And sometimes you guys are going right past the IntelliFarm, and I'm glad Gaston brought that up. We're first in class in our technology at Deere, and IntelliFarm is leading the way there. So we need to say that, not to try to blow your heads up anymore.
That's right. You take it. Toot my horn. Toot, toot, toot. I'm
One
ready.
last comment, feeding off of what Matt said earlier on an earlier episode that's been released. Wade mentioned and said this, that our customer base are great stewards of the land. And I think this goes hand in hand with it. Now, yes, there are savings. There are shifting focus to other inputs on your farm, yes. But I think that they realize what they, like you said earlier, how much they could have been wasting in the past. They're not upset about that. The technology wasn't there, but now they're proud to do something like this and continue on down the road for future generations.
Yep. Early adopters.
It's neat to think
They're-
about. Something I didn't think about it very much, but I think that is in deep down that's in the back of people's mind.
Yep. No, it says a lot
most
about the customer
definitely.
base. It says a lot about the customer base too for us
Yeah.
to. And I think that's exactly what Wade was talking about when
was.
Riggs brought up the 5 machines. Is like,
Well, he was
know-
speaking on behalf of our customer base and then Indiana's as well.
Yeah.
And how a lot of similarities there, and that's what stuck out to him.
but we can sell it, we can support it, but at the end of the day, they got to be willing to adopt it, and we've got
Yep.
the base. We've got the base for that. And one more thing that I wrote down that I forgot to mention, but you said something about drones that made me think. But that's another thing that we may see coming down the line. How far behind are regulations on some of these labels for drones? I mean, you talk about it's crazy. And now spot spraying.
Yeah.
We now have another method of application that is target application. Yeah. Could we one day see some label addendums for target spraying?
I think so. We can pick up on that with a retailer or supplier in here when we talk to them. But that's got to be coming. Some changes. We could get into the weeds on all that stuff, but you got to think that some things are going to be altered to allow maybe a heavier rate, lesser rate. I don't know. There's so many different ways you can go depending on the product, but
it's a new tool.
Yeah.
It's a new tool. Don't use it like your old one.
So things could come down the road that push this product even more. Maybe.
Yeah.
Labels overall need to be revisited because you have so many adjuvant products today that have increased the efficacy of the herbicides, fungicides, insecticides so much more. You have so many labels that are so old that need to be revisited, not just for we think of drones and maybe even some of the See and Spray technology, but really adjuvants. They have really increased the efficacy, and it needs to show that on the labels.
Yeah. Boy, this is going to be a
We
fun.
could do this all day.
This is going to be a fun episode to listen to in 20 years when the See and Spray is who knows? I don't even know.
You
what it's
still
gonna
got
look like.
See and Spray?
I mean, we're gonna go back and listen. Can you imagine, man, how archaic that was? Like that's wild. But look, final thoughts from the group. Anybody got any last minute inputs before we wrap this thing up? All right. Well, lots talked about here today. Obviously, the See and Spray is fascinating technology, revolutionary, and John Deere is paving the path there. So if you heard something you're interested in, you want more information about it, you can email us at onthetailgate@wadeinc.com. We'll be happy to reach out to you on this. And look, maybe we'll put a See and Spray in your operation. So thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time on The Tailgate.